Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Bleeding Cool's recap of Twin Peaks: The Return. We're going to be looking at episode 16, No Knock, No Doorbell. It is Sunday. It is September 3rd, which also means that, unfortunately, we're going to be getting the finale for Twin Peaks tonight. From 8 to 10, we're going to be getting parts 17 and 18. So to get you up to speed, I'm going to go over a little bit some of the points from episode 16. Getting us ready for tonight. Hopefully, you can take a break from the Showtime marathon to give me a chance to give you some thoughts and some ideas I had about the episode, which was a heavy one. We had some really great things happen. We had some really horrible things happen, and the horrible things actually is kind of my segue into my overall takeaway. Um, my overall takeaway, and this is something I'm going to be writing about after this season's over. And it's tough to say this as a Twin Peaks fan because I like what I've seen this season, and from what I've watched of the marathon, it's interesting how things are making sense a lot more. Um, but one issue that needs to be addressed is I think it speaks volumes when Denise is the strongest, independent, most well-rounded, non-victim female character in Twin Peaks, and it's a female character played by David Duchovny. I've had a lot of concerns, not overall with the level of violence, but with what happened with Diane this week, and we'll talk about that. It got me thinking to a lot of other things that weren't necessarily direct violence, but I guess the best way to put it is this. I know one of the themes I've heard people talk about that Lynch has been going for in Twin Peaks is to talk about how, the victimization of women by men. And I think that's been established, but it's one of those things where I just feel like after a while, when you keep beating it this strongly across so many different levels, there's a level of uncomfortableness that comes into play. And again, I don't know, as a longtime Twin Peaks fan, the issue with Diane that happened kind of drove that home a little bit more for me. But yeah, that's something I want to address overall, but that's something that really kind of rang out from this episode, which was a really good episode. But again, David Lynch, so to do it justice, we do have to look at it on a number of levels, and sometimes not all those levels are positive. Okay. Some of the spare parts, takeaways. Go into my handy dandy list here, as you will see. Um, First, Doppelkoop and Richie. I think we see right from the start anybody who thought there was going to be some kind of like father-son connection or anything like that. It's Doppelkoop. Again, it's all of the resources of Dale Cooper without all the emotion, feeling, and morality, with Bob Power locked up inside. Of course, he's going to use the fatherly, strange connection with Richie to get Richie to do what he wants, which, of course, is to go with him to the Rock and basically send Richie up there to find out if it's a trap, and, of course, it's a trap. So Richie disintegrates, he's gone, dissolves. We're not going to miss him. I don't like to use cursing a lot, but if there was a definition for shitbag, Richie Horn would be it. If you've been watching the series, I don't need to go over the listing of things that would make him eligible for that. But we're not going to be too heartbroken to see him gone. But again, it just shows you Doppelkoop, another trap set, another one he avoids. Guy's got 9 lives. It really does. The Jerry Horn situation, watching that, I'm very curious to see. I couldn't tell if he knew that that was actually Richie or not. If that was his, he knew that that was his. Wait, that would make him his nephew. Yeah, his nephew. So I'm not sure about that. But the Jerry Horn thing is very interesting that they keep going back to him and that he's kind of this free spirit out in the woods, kind of this wild card factor. Um, Tarantino. I reference Tarantino because of the situation outside of Dougie Jones's home. First, you've got Hutch and Chantal, who were two of my favorite characters in the sense that they were as close to Doppelkoop as you're going to find, and they just kind of were just who they were. But you've got them scoping out Dougie Jones's home. You now have the FBI scoping out Dougie Jones's home. And then all of a sudden, you've got the Mitchum brothers who are going over to Dougie Jones's home to show more appreciation for our poor, sick, and an ICU Dougie Coop by making sure that the home is fully stocked. Um, you knew right from the start something bad was going to happen, and I want to make sure I get this right. The Zawodzki accounting, wow. Talk about somebody who's really, really protective of their driveway. Was not expecting that to go the way it did, and especially for this guy to just blow Hutch and Chantal completely away. I was talking to somebody before, and I had this weird theory. I was like, I wonder if the guy from Zawodzki, just from the way he seemed and the way he put the gun down and surrendered himself to the FBI, I just kept wondering, did he have some kind of, I don't know, was he sent in a weird way? Was it Black Lodge basically doing a little cleanup so that he can get Bob back? Was the White Lodge going a little militia? I don't know, but there was something a little kind of stuck at me. I might be reading too much into it. David Lynch, so it's easy to do. But yeah, no, I thought it was a very, very interesting scene. We get Coop back. Can we just let me just say that right now? We get our Dale Cooper back, as he says, 100%. Um, it's interesting in the sense that we get him back. He's ready to go. He's in communication with Mike from the Black Lodge, which is another fascinating thing. The fact that Dale Cooper is kind of like agent of Black Lodge, and the fact that Mike gave Cooper the ring, which I know is a way to get Doppelkoop back to the Black Lodge. And also, Coop was asking for an additional seed, which I'm very interested to see how that's going to come into play, and what factor that plays into parts 17 and 18. And I need a plane to Spokane, Washington. The music plays. We know it's going to start involving the Mitchum brothers, which is automatically awesome to begin with. And then when he throws at the "I am the FBI" line, I'm not gonna lie. With total fanboy mode, no objectivity whatsoever at that moment. Total fanboy mode. The episode would have had to completely go to hell for me to not like it. Yeah, I'll own up that right now. It's interesting. I was referencing this before, and I've seen a couple people online talk about this too. It's interesting when you see Coop starting to rally his resources from the past 15 parts during his time as Dougie Jones and also as Out of It Dougie Jones. Someone made reference to this too, and I'm glad. Seeing the analogy between what Coop's doing and what he's gone through and where we may be leading to the Odyssey. So I think that'd be a very interesting thing to examine. I really do. Diane. Um, there's no way to say this other than I'm not sure how I feel about how the character was handled. I will say up front that Laura Dern, I think, is one of the greatest actresses of our time. I think her performance as Diane, and especially in this episode, proves it even more so. Um, I just, it just was rough in the way they handled the character. Um, the way it was shot, I thought was amazing. We realized by the look on Diane's face that she has gotten in way over her head, and we see that moment where she has the gun in her purse, and the close up of her face as she's walking through the hallways. And the only thing I'm thinking is, oh my God, she's just going to walk in there and blast all of them away. And there was just that attention that entire time of knowing, okay, she's here, something's going on, there's a gun in her purse. Where is this all going? Um, she gets to speak to Albert and Tamara and to Cole, and she relays them the backstory. And it's an instance where who she thought was Coop came to visit her a number of years after he had disappeared. And in a moment of personal exchange, she realizes that it's not Coop, but clearly it's Doppelkoop, which results in him raping her. And that instance and that moment changing Diane completely. I'm not sure how I feel in regards to how that was handled. On one hand, I've always believed that there are no subject matters that shouldn't be used in regards to storytelling and to set a dramatic, I guess, experience for the viewer or the reader or what have you. To see this come into play, though, after the last 15 episodes of instances with things happening to female characters on a variety of levels, and then getting served this, I'm not sure. I got to be honest. I'm really not sure how I feel in this instance. It bothered me, and I don't know if it necessarily bothered me in the good way it should bother me, or it bothered me in a way that at least on a level we should be talking about a lot more when it comes to David Lynch, and maybe not give David Lynch such a pass. Um, the scene where she's screaming and pleading to them, "It's not me, it's not me," is incredibly heartbreaking. Um, when she reaches into her purse to pulls out the gun, you almost get the sense it's more of a death by FBI, suicide by FBI on her part, because Albert and Tamara both had positioned themselves at this point. They knew what was going on, and Diane was smart enough to know also. I think it was just one of those instances where Diane, the Diane Tulpa, whichever way we want to go with this, was just done. And again, it was rough and it was heartbreaking. But we still see that little bit of resistance from Diane when she's in the Black Lodge. She throws out another resounding, I know, fuck you. But it's interesting when we hear Mike reference the fact that, kind of like Dougie, well, no, like Dougie Coop, that this Diane had been another manufacturer from Doppelkoop. A really rough scene, punctuated by some amazing acting on Laura Dern's part. Cooper and Janie E. Let me say something real quick. Naomi Watts, I want to apologize right from the start. Seeing where this entire series has gone and now watching her performance back, Janie E is a character I did not give enough credit to in the beginning, and I think Naomi Watts' performance is fantastic. Seeing really how she transitions through this. I'm hoping for a good ending for her, because she's the one strong female character I've been able to kind of latch onto in this series, one that's been honestly lacking. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for this, but it just seems like, there's a lot of levels of concerns I have in regards to them not getting a happy ending. Cooper says to her at one point, I'll walk through that red door and I'll be home for good. Cooper. Beyond the fact that the red door thing already makes me nervous in regards to what that could mean, it's her follow-up line to him where she says, whoever you are, thank you. It didn't come across as a woman who's expecting to see him again, or for them to ever be in each other's lives again. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping she's wrong if that's the case. But it was sad and a little heartbreaking, I have to say. Cooper and the Mitchum brothers. This is amazing because it's almost become like the Three Musketeers at this point, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Please, can we start some kind of campaign to get the Mitchum brothers series going? But only if you make sure that Candy is also one of the major players in that show too, or movie, or what have you. Because honestly, I would like to see more of them. I did not think I was going to like these characters as much as I have. I have, and then some. Completely new appreciation for Jim Belushi. Side note about the Mitchum brothers. There's a sweet line that Cooper says to them. I am witness to the fact that you both have hearts of gold. And it's true. For the business that they're in, they have a very interesting line of ethics for the work that they do. And it's very interesting, flashing back to the sequence that happens with the shootout by Dougie Jones' home. You see from the Mitchum brothers, it's like, you know what? The Vegas Strip's a lot safer than the suburbs. We're going to go back there. Because at least in their world, there's a code of conduct that gets conducted properly. But again, Mitchum brothers like to see something. But again, you get the sense that it's not just they're appreciative of Cooper for the fact that he got them $30 million back. They're appreciative of the fact that he's a straight shooter, and for whatever reason they can't sense, there's something good and decent about him. And it's nice the fact that he sees something good and decent in them also. Performance by Eddie Vedder, can't go wrong. I don't remember offhand what his real name was and how they announced him, but amazing performance. Audrey, what? I don't know. I knew things were going to go a little off the rails the moment they segued into her dance music. But, that sudden shock back to whatever reality is. Black Lodge, White Lodge, some kind of coma limbo. If I heard correctly, I thought we heard the sound of electricity. But, yeah, I'm not sure where that's going. And I was ready to write off my theory from earlier, right from the back. I was like, oh, okay, well, no, Audrey's still... But no, when that music started, I was like, you know what? Let me pull back. I think there might be a little bit more. And then that moment was one of those moments from Lost where it was like, oh my God, wait, this is a flash forward. That again, really, really good question mark to end on going into a 2-hour finale. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you like this. I'm going to be getting back to the Twin Peaks marathon that's going on right now. Do not forget that we're going to be doing a live blog. Unofficially starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'd like to throw some extra stuff up there. But at 8 o'clock, we're going to be starting, and we're going to be live blogging for the 2 hours. My hope is it'd be great if we got some great news stemming from the end of this regarding the future of Twin Peaks, because I wouldn't want to wait another 27 years. But yeah, please join us on bleedingcool.com. You're going to see the post going up around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you'll know when to log in. And like I said, just kind of have a little bit of company along with you when you're watching the show tonight, and see if I can give you some observations that you might not have thought of. All right, folks, thanks for joining me. Take it easy, and I will hopefully see you online tonight.